allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody to the 9:30 a.m. October 2nd, 2023 work session of the Southampton Town Board of Trustees. I ask the Secretary Treasurer to do the roll call, please.
Scott Harwood's
I'm
president.
here.
William Pell, Secretary Treasurer, is present. Edward Warner, Jr.
Present.
Ann Walker,
He's not here.
and William Parrish.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. We do have some discussions. I see the first discussion is Trustee Pell's bird sanctuary discussion.
I think you got information on that?
We
Is that
have it up
delivered?
on the screen, so this was the location that someone had requested become a waterfowl location, and then they ended up withdrawing their request. Don Law withdrew his request and actually is now requesting that this area become a bird sanctuary.
Right, so this is just a request coming in from
This is
somebody
the request.
Just a
that
request.
wanted a,
Over the years, we did have, since I've been here, we did have, I think, a couple times, Ed, do you remember?
We've done this in one specific area, just west of Poncork Bridge. There's an area
No, I
between.
mean, in this one area, we had a request for a blind, and we denied it.
Yes, well, I
So
mean,
that's another reason we should have this a bird sanctuary, so we don't waste people's time.
well, it's a very unique area because you have the dug lagoons that are up close to the road on the south side on the north side of Dune Road. There are waterfowl that rest there during hunting season that don't get molested from hunting and, just chased around. So it's having the whole entire flyway a hunting area probably isn't a good idea. I mean,
Didn't you-
giving the birds a chance to
rest.
be able to rest and not get, chased around is a good thing.
right, that was a discussion that we
Yeah.
had
We
over the
did-
last couple meetings.
Yeah, we did one up in Speonk, too, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we also did one down in Sabonic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've taken in consideration.
Maybe we should put this on for a public hearing, so we can put it in the blue book.
Okay.
The
And
board
how
would
would
like to do
we
that?
designate
I
this?
think it's a good idea.
How would we designate this this water body? Would we just in the blue book?
It'll be in
Just
the,
using
under-
the address?
it'll be under section 21.
It'll be west in Shinnecock Bay.
We could put coordinates.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
We
my
can use
question. Yep.
official
And we
coordinates.
can use,
That
yeah.
we could determine as we work through the public hearing process, but you want to have a productive resource.
Sure.
Yeah, and there's already at least a half a dozen, if not more, blinds in that flyway, so adding another one would probably be almost counterproductive to the waterfowl.
Okay.
Really.
So we'll do a notice of public hearing for October 16th and hold the public hearing on November 6th?
Yep.
Does that sound good?
Hey, Jessica, I just want to go back to roll call that Ann Walker just came in late.
Okay.
She's present now.
Thank you.
Ann Walker?
Here,
You actually are perfect timing.
I know.
You're a perfect timing.
I think you guys might have jumped the gun a little, but it's fine.
We hit it at 9 o'clock on the head. We were trying to, because
Nine.
we have folks, I think, that.
9:30.
I mean, 9:30, I'm sorry, 9:30 on the head. Pardon me.
It's 9:33, let's go. Let's stop wasting time.
So you're perfect timing for your discussion, actually, of 1340 Noyak Path.
Right. This is a quote that was requested by the Marine Patrol for tree removal. Do we have that
I
quote?
have it, yes.
Great.
We passed that down to
As you
Ann.
know, there's been pine beetle infestation in large portions of the town, and this area, Little Noyak Path, is particularly hard hit. We have removed about 2 to 3 years ago a significant portion of trees there, but it's now being requested by the homeowners, and then the Marine Patrol getting a quote to the tune of $8,600. So these trees would be cut to the ground, and the stumps would be ground as well, so that there would be no fire situation there with the felled trees.
Yeah, brush trucks trying to access a brush fire and getting stuck on top of the stumps.
Yeah.
So it's a public safety issue.
Yes.
It's a big
Both, yes, both on the tree, both on the road, that's where most of these are right along
Right.
the road. So wires, driveways, and several have fallen.
So on the ones that are entangled in the wires, has the utility company been contacted? Because I know at times they also get involved in,
Not in these, we've tried that before.
you tried it. Just have to ask the question.
No, no, I
because-
appreciate that.
All right, well, let's take a look at this and then we'll figure out what fund this comes out of.
Now, are all these trees that are mentioned in this proposal, are we all assured that they're on the right-of-way for the road?
That's important.
I mean, I know I just did a project on Canoe Place Road, and I went down there, and it's very hard to see where the road, because the road never goes straight, it kind of like meanders. So I was using the telephone poles on one side of the road and trying to figure, whether it's, I don't know, with the width of this road, most of them are 50 feet wide, and all the ones that I did would be in the 50-foot,
Right-of-way.
right-of-way.
I have a question for our attorney, Joe. Hey, Joe, since we don't really have deeds for this road, should we ask the town to step up and help pay for this?
There's a question and a controversy as to who owns the road. We should certainly investigate the issue, but if there's a matter of safety, I would advise that safety should prevail over
Yes.
an argument for another day
Yeah,
or another
I agree,
venue.
I agree with that 100%, but we should look at that,
Oh,
look into that.
absolutely. The entire system of roads should be looked at, and I have spoken with Be Ready, and I think they'll be ready to take up the issue when we give them the go-ahead to look at it.
There's
All
been
right,
a
thank you very
discussion.
much,
We've been having a discussion
Oh, yeah, but-
for like 10 years about
About the
public
roads.
safety on the road,
We
sanding,
have
salting.
historically maintained this road.
Yeah,
So,
so we'll figure it out and then moving forward, obviously,
Yeah.
we need to resolve the issue for the people
Resolve the
that live on
issues.
these roads. And people have to come to the table to work productively to resolve those
Yes.
issues. You can't just keep,
The real
the can
issue
down the road.
is
It needs to happen here.
The real issue is the funding for maintenance on these roads.
Yes.
We started out with 270,000. I believe we have quite a bit less than 100,000, if not 50,000, to maintain these roads. And this is before the winter season where we do plowing and salting.
right,
We just did a $7,000 tree job on Canoe Place Road, and what was the estimate for this one, Bill?
8,600.
86, but
8,600.
the difference we do there, we own the deeds for that, those
Yes,
roads.
yes.
well, plus in the interest of public safety, we're
Safety.
burning up our trucks,
But-
right?
But
Our
we have
plows.
not, that fund has not been replenished in quite a few
Right,
years.
it needs to be replenished.
And
And the town did agree to give us some, offset some of that budget by. Twice, and we have gotten no funding from the town at all.
It was not transparent on that.
So how would we request that the road fund be refilled?
Well, it generally was refilled by curb cuts, but we haven't seen those in quite a while now. In some instances, certain projects warrant the homeowner that's requesting the curb cut do the improvements because it makes sense, but in other instances, it does not. And then if you look at the whole system as an overall, there needs to be a sustainable source of revenue so that you can continue to, in the interest of public safety, maintain those roads.
Right.
Okay? The general tax revenue that they pay goes to the general fund, not to the trustees. But yet we're bearing the expense, and in addition, we're cost sharing out of the trust back to the town for some of these employees that work on these roads.
Right.
So there really needs to be a productive conversation to the benefit of the people that live in the town so that there's sustainability, especially for things as important as public safety.
Well, there's several homeowners, particularly on Noyak Path, that are very concerned about the maintenance of their roads. Perhaps this would be a good opportunity when we're doing work to include them in a conversation as
I-
far as,
I concur. I think collaboration is
Helping them.
good, absolutely. And I share their same concerns because, as long as I've been sitting on this board, it's been endeavoring to have public safety on a sustainability basis, not just fixing a pothole for a day, waiting for the next heavy rainstorm. So, yeah, absolutely. Let's have a productive conversation.
so that would include town board, the residents of some of these roads, and
The
members.
trustees?
Yep.
Has a formal request been made to the town board?
To,
Specifically to this right now, there have been several discussions and requests made to the town board to resolve this issue. They came up with some suggestions of perhaps billing, individual homeowners that are on these roads, but, we don't, we're trying to get the tax district squared away so that there's a form of a mechanism so that we could actually officially and formally do that. But until something like that is in place, it becomes problematic and complex. Now, we pay the comptroller a fee every year for the purposes of, accounting for these things, but, I haven't seen, and I don't know if any of you have seen any formal proposal for a resolution of the issue. As a couple of board members discussed, there was perhaps,
we haven't had a conversation with the town board in at least probably,
at least a year.
I would say more than that.
When was the last time,
It was last year,
last year?
yeah.
I think a formal written request should be made to the town board and to
Okay.
bring it up again.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can do that.
Yep, I
All right,
think,
let's
yeah.
draft that letter.
So we'll deal with this, now that you've made sure it's remedying this public safety issue, but let's go to the next step and see if we can make
Yeah.
an official request and then have a productive collaborative conversation,
Yeah.
including the people that are most greatly affected.
Yep, agreed.
Okay. And you folks have another discussion on here as well. For 154
The firewall.
Firewell.
Can you bring that up, James? You have the correspondence, Jessica, on this? This is in Ann's area, she was taking care of it.
So Little Nyack Path, in addition to having an issue with trees further between Deerfield and Middle Line Highway, south of Middle Line Highway has had 3 fires, house fires, in the past several years. So the homeowners on that road were very concerned about that because there was no hydrant on the road or fire well, and the trucks had to come from they had to run hoses from quite some ways away. So this is construction of the home that's being rebuilt after the fire, and they're asking to put in a fire well on Trustee easement. So, in interests of public safety, I think that this is very important. They initially, before this construction project, they came to the trustees and asked for help from the trustees. However, this is something that goes through the fire district, not the trustees. So they've done the work with the fire district, but now in order to move the next step forward, we need to authorize the easement, the approval of the access
I
on the
think that's good.
easement.
I think that's sensible.
Although I've
Yeah.
been working on this.
Yeah.
Joe's been doing the paperwork
And-
on it.
My suggestion and recommendation to the, first off, the reason the well is being placed where it is, it's a request of the insurance carrier. In the rebuild, they're requesting that fire well be placed. In my discussions with the architect about this, what I've recommended is, since this is a fire well that's being built for the fire district, it's not being built for us, it would be placed on our property. What they need to do is make whatever arrangements they do to act and pay the contractor. I believe Casola was going to be the one that was going to actually dig the well. Title of the well and maintenance and responsibility for it being properly insured and everything would be in the fire district. Once they hammer out the dollars and cents for the project, and they get all of the specifications, the fire district will apply to us for an other category general permit, which has no fee. It would involve water or electric, which is the other category on the cover sheet. And at that point, we can approve it, and they can dig their well, and the fire district would then be able to put it in service. That would be the quickest and cleanest way to get this done quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanks, Joe.
I know the Hampton Bays Fire District did it up on Dewey Lane in Red Creek, and also at Red Creek Point, there are I think there are 4 cisterns there that need electric and to run the pump, but this has been done back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
in the Hampton-based fire district was involved in it. So
Mhm.
maybe you can get some information from that past practice
I'll
to
look it
move
up.
forward, because I remember when my father was a commissioner, they sanctioned this whole project up there because it was, houses were burning down and the bay was frozen, so they couldn't access
Right.
any water. This area, people go and put hoses in a swimming pool, and it's very limited abilities as a fireman, low pressure, so you can't
They
fight.
truck the water in.
Yeah, and that's not, you can't put a fire out like that.
And I
It's-
advise the architect also that they should contact the town, because if there will be an electrical pump, as opposed to just being, you know,
A shallow
basically
water.
I guess a series of rings where they would be able to draft from the water table, they're gonna need an electrical permit from the town, since we don't issue electrical
Yeah,
permits.
and may as well be done properly, in this way they can assure that they have, public safety up
Yeah.
there.
And that it has to make sure it's maintained, has
Yes,
to be flushed out,
yep.
right, James?
He has a lot of iron in the water, and the head gets all filled up with iron, so they gotta backwash it every once in a while.
So somebody from, either from the architect or from the fire district will be contacting you, James.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Joe, thank you, James.
Thank you.
So the next discussion is with Peter Topping on oyster sanctuaries. If you want to, why don't you come up here and sign in?
How's Peter doing today?
Hot seat.
The hot seat's over there, we'll make you stand.
Not at all. We are a friendly board, we don't bite, come on.
For you don't know it, this is Peter Topping, the executive director of Iconic Bakery.
Anything could happen.
We don't worry, we give you the most respect we can.
We work with Mr. Topping and his association, doing many good projects for the
It
for
does
the-
a lot.
bays.
We're good collaborators.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been good. All right, so thanks for having me this morning. I just wanted to kind of present an idea that I've been kind of working toward for a while, and that's to create an oyster shellfish sanctuary in Cold Spring Pond. And kind of tied in with that, I just want to give an update, quick update and overview on where we're at with the program so far. So on the left that's a photo from last week, one day when the wind was miraculously not blowing. That's in North Sea Harbor, seeding out some of this year's oysters. And then on the right is the oyster nursery over in Cold Spring Pond in the northeast corner. So we have 15 floating 6-bag cages over there. Right now, this whole program, we're involving volunteers, school groups. To date, I was tallying up, we've seeded almost 150,000. Not small oysters, these are all like 2 to 3 inch oysters that we're growing. We actually overwinter the majority of our crop in deep water. And essentially the majority of the oysters that we're putting back in the water are of legal harvest size. We've been funding the whole program, and what we're trying to do is create more of like a oyster seed to sanctuary approach with the garden program. So far we've been putting a lot of the oysters back on public bottom. We still want to do some of that. I think it's important to keep people active, whether it's commercially or recreationally working on the water.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, but also considering that we're funding this in-house, I'd also like to kind of work toward a little bit more of the restoration, where we're putting some oysters that are in spots that are legally off limits. So this year I spoke with Trustee Ed Warner and James Duryea early in the season a little bit about some of the sanctuaries that currently exist in Southampton. I will say Southampton's ahead by leaps and bounds of the other townships out here as far as the sanctuaries, especially in Shinnecock Bay. You have the larger sanctuaries, and then even in the Peconics. I don't know the history on all these, but I think a number of them were maybe initiated by the Nature Conservancy.
And also the town trustees, when Chuck Stidell had Coastal Farms
Okay.
running, he was actually donating some of the larger clams, and we would randomly put them in all the creeks and harbors where we made small sanctuaries. I think about every creek and harbor from Sag Harbor to Red Creek has a small sanctuary
Right.
area in it. I've
Yeah.
gone over and listed them in the past, so they are in our records. So if you want to, basically put some they were mostly designated for clams.
Yeah.
Because they're a muddy bottom and the clams
Yeah.
could go back in them pretty easy. The ones that we're looking to do now with the oysters, you want some firmer bottom, and definitely if you could get some quarter decks and some substrate or some stones there, that's the best bottom to lay the oysters on, that way they can't bury up, over time.
Yeah, so that's one of the issues that we've encountered going around, and this is Red Creek Pond, so those circles are kind of an approximation of where I have put some oysters kind of closer to the shore where it is firm, but that area, most of these back areas in the creeks have pretty muddy bottoms, so like Ed said, they're ideal for clams, but not oysters. North Sea Harbor, confusing map, but there's that small sanctuary tucked back by Constance Point. So we have put some oysters there, and then that's just a photo of, that's one of the no-take buoys. I think a lot of them say clam sanctuary, but on the maps it's just designated as shellfish sanctuary. And this is an overview of Cold Spring Pond. So this is from the Trustee Town GIS. So when I look at this pond, it's one of my personal favorites. I love scalloping there. I know it's great clamming, and it's doing well in contrast to a lot of the other harbors. A lot of open water, but there aren't currently any sanctuary sites in there. So these not red circles, and the red circle and the square areas where we did put some oysters a few weeks ago, but they also kind of mark some areas that could potentially be a sanctuary or a potential pilot restoration site. So just a few points here. Right now, there are no sanctuary sites in Cold Spring Pond. We've had some issues with some of the areas that are closed where there are sanctuaries with DEC and relay permits, where they say you can't put oysters that are over 1.5 inches until December 1st. I don't want to be out there doing that on December 1st. It's convenient to our nursery site. There's a lot of natural oyster recruitment in Cold Spring Pond.
Yes.
I mean, I see them on the bulkheads, the pilings, the rib mussels along the shoreline. So there's a lot of, I would say probably half or more of that shoreline is protected habitat in its natural state. So it's a pretty ideal spot. We do have some funding that we received from the Long Island Community Foundation to kind of buy some buoys, buy some more gear for overwintering, and also monitor. And also, again, it's a very productive embayment, and I just kind of made the point, let's keep it that way. So I think a lot of environmental projects end up being these remediation reactionary projects. And I like to look at things like, okay, this place is actually doing pretty good. Maybe we can keep it at that baseline or improve it, rather than waiting for it to slip down the cracks
Be
too
more
much.
proactive than reactive.
Yeah, exactly. So we know we know there are some issues. It's not what it once was, but it's better than a lot of its competition. But it doesn't mean it doesn't could use some support.
Stay ahead of the upgrade influences.
So when I met with Ed and James a few weeks ago, just to kind of talk about some of these ideas, one of the places that came up as a potential site was, I guess this is like the kind of near the southeast corner of Cold Spring Pond.
It's right, there's a launching ramp, right?
Yeah,
right
there's a
next to
little.
it.
Yeah, there's a little launch, kind of a
And there's a
improvised
stream
launching
that
ramp.
runs out of some
Yeah.
freshwater ponds, and there's actually springs down there. So it's
Yeah.
a really good area for shellfish, especially oysters,
Yeah.
with a little bit lower salinity. And historically, there have been oysters in this area for most of my lifetime. So we would just be adding to the crop that's there.
Yeah,
So-
and I did get, the waters it's been a little churned up this fall, but I did go there a few weeks ago and waded out, and put on the mask and snorkel. I didn't see any oysters out where that rectangle is. That's just kind of just an idea. There were some near the shoreline, nice hard sandy bottom.
Yeah.
And then it kind of drops off right where that blue area is, and it gets kind of muddy beyond that. I did, just for comparison's sake, check out on the other side of this closure. I don't have that up on the screen. That area was much muddier, and I was stepping on clams the whole time. So, you know, you know, kind of to my point earlier, I personally, and as an organization, we recognize the importance of recreational and commercial harvest. So I'm not approaching this in a way of taking away any productive areas. But this area seems like it would be an area where there would be very, very little conflict. And we'd be looking for something about maybe a 1/4 acre max. So just, that would be about like 100 by 100 feet. And,
We
market
did something like
breweries.
this with a past Peconic Bay keeper in Hetty Creek. We gave him basically a 100 by 100 foot area. One of the local high school kids had gotten some money and did a little project down there, and we made it like a little sanctuary down there. So you're looking to do something like that.
Right.
And this area would be very easy to monitor because it's
Yeah.
right by the road, and then 4 buoys like they have, you know, in some of
Yeah,
our
and
other areas.
we could cover that with our grant
Yeah.
funding. So I'd want it out a little bit away
Where
from
it
the
starts to
shoreline,
slope
just
down,
because,
yeah.
you know, there is that attractive aspect of knowing there's, so
Yeah.
enforcement is, you know, accessibility can lead to poaching, but also at the same time, you have that area where it's very easy to monitor. It's very easy for a constable, and I see the constables pull up, or the Marine Patrol pull up there. So it's easy to see what's going on. And then this was just another idea I had, as far as more of a general sanctuary in that, in Cold Spring Pond, that little green area is where a nursery is currently, but when I just was messing around with the GIS, and when I mapped out that little cove in the back, it's approximately 5 acres. And that's pretty much on par with I think most of the other sanctuaries are between 3 and 5 acres. I think the one in Sag Harbor is a bit larger. So it's just, we did seed some oysters around the fringes of that. It is a little muddier in the middle, but it just might be an area to consider
If we were
if you were
gonna do
looking
something,
to.
I'd like to recommend pulling it further north, because there are scallops in there, and people do harvest scallops and dive scallops. Like cutting that literally almost in half.
Yeah,
And then
so like the
that-
top part of
Yeah,
it.
the northern part, it's pretty deep there, so
Yeah.
putting anything, and there's a lot of bog on the bottom and some shells and rocks, so
Yeah.
it is a good area, but like I would say, the southern, like 150 feet of it, people do snorkel for scallops in there,
Yeah,
so I mean.
I'm guilty of that
that's a-
myself, so.
5 acres.
There are some clams
Yeah,
there
but,
too.
yeah, there are
Yeah.
a few clams there,
Yeah.
but pushing it back a little bit would give you a sanctuary, easy for enforcement. I mean, you drive down the road there and you can look out there and just set up a
Yeah.
line. either-
So our main priority is, with the oyster program, is trying to set up a spot where we can start with
Actually, that would
oysters,
be-
and then, you know, we've talked about trying to grow some scallops and stuff as well. And we'd want to put that in an area where hopefully it could help
Actually, that would
augment the natural
be a
population.
really good place for a sanctuary, because what I was talking to you before with Tim and Howard, that me and Ed's working on with them about
Right.
doing a nature walk through there,
Yeah,
and they wanna go out to that point, and maybe somehow you can work in a nature, water garden where people can see.
You put some signage there for people to understand
And
what's going on.
what's
That's what
going
they do
on
down-
now.
Down in Maryland and Delaware, they have places like this all over where they
Yeah.
close off areas. They have extensive walking areas and all these little kiosks, and basically
Right.
you have
Yeah.
a little code thing, and you just hit it with your phone, and it tells you all the stuff that's going, all the
Yeah, so
birds,
they know
all
what's
the
going on.
shellfish, and everything that's going on. It's a pretty neat thing.
yeah, well,
You know.
I look into what's going on in a lot of areas, and, you know, I would say New York as a state is very far behind
Yes.
some of the stuff that's going on
We
down
are-
south, and,
Yeah.
you know, so I recognize all these things as opportunities, and
Yeah,
Bill
there's-
was saying,
yeah.
talking about putting some trails, you know, we have the nursery there, so I think it could be,
All tie in.
you know, tie into a
'Cause
more
Yeah,
we
an
did
comprehensive
osprey
replace
nest
the osprey
there.
nest there.
project.
Yeah.
But you could probably put one more, there's already, I think, 2 up in that corner. You probably could put one more on that other point. It'd be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's really neat for people to walk there and see the osprey, and
Yeah.
sometimes eagles are there too, I mean, you know.
Yeah, I've seen eagles.
I think,
Trying to remember if
Pete,
I
maybe
think
if
that
you
was-
wanna talk
yeah.
to, Cold Spring Pond has been one of this isn't oysters as much as it is scallops. But
Right.
Cold Spring Pond, what I'm about to refer to. Cold Spring Pond has been one of the areas, because of water temperature, because of the spring-fed aspect of it, that there has been like successful scallop recruitment as well as perseverance of the species. And that's, I think, an additional idea why a sanctuary might not be a bad idea here, and as large a one as possible. If you want to talk to just the aspect of the success in Cold Spring compared to other inner harbors.
Yeah, so, I know some of you are pretty active on the water. You know, Cold Spring Pond, I think back to the first year of the scallop die-off, and I was out with a friend dredging off Robbins Island, and I think we were out there for an hour or two and had a dozen scallops, and came back, put on my wetsuit, and jumped in Cold Spring Pond. In 30 minutes, I had a bushel of scallops. And even the last few years, there are still bay scallops in there. I don't think there's, I'm not sure how many, if Cornell is still seeding scallops in there.
Almost every year, we put some amount of scallops in there.
Yeah.
We've kind of backed off because of the death rate. We kind of really looked at Shinnecock and the
Yeah.
survival rate there. But I believe, right, Bill, every year we do put a few scallops in
yeah.
there. You don't need a lot of scallops.
Right, yeah,
to
they
make
can
it-
have, yeah, when the conditions are right,
Yeah.
they can carp at the
Well,
bottom. But it's been, you know, I find them in our oyster cages, we
Yeah.
get the set, and, the water, we've had a lot of late season
nice
rust
water
tide
there.
this year, but another week or two, if things cool.
It's pretty
I'm
much
gonna
gone.
go check it out.
My memory of Cold Springs is back in the
Yeah,
'70s
you have a
when the
different
college was
baseline.
there.
Yeah.
And being a junior in high school, to see if how many bushel I could get before my class would start in the morning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, that place was so prolific for so long, you know. And in '84, '85, when we had the first outbreak of brown tide, that place really did take a big hit. But it was the first place to come back. I mean, there were several oyster projects in
Yeah.
there. Billy, you're familiar with
Yeah,
that.
very
and
good-
Mr. Kraus, and
very
it was
good, yeah,
always a good
oyster.
area. Even though the brown tide was prevalent there, the oysters did grow,
Yeah,
the
it's-
clams had
yeah.
done very well. And sporadically, we've had some very good sets of scallops in there where, you know, you could go in there and get, 4 or 5 bushel in a pretty quick time. But at least recreationally, you can always go in there and get your, half a bushel or whatever,
Yeah.
so.
I went climbing a couple weeks ago in there, and we ended up with, I think, 15 scallops. I mean, legal size scallops.
Yeah, just raking.
Yeah, well, they can.
Whereabouts?
I moved them and GPS them.
Yeah.
They swim, don't worry about it.
But anyway, I'm very interested in, we have some funding to get some buoys. Part of the funding is gonna be, to increase our overwintering capacity as well, so we can overwinter more oysters. I'm not sure where the trustees are now as far as, the aquaculture program. I know there was some concern about allowing more floating gear, if we were able to add like 5 more cages.
Well, that was gonna be my
But I'm not
question.
sure,
because
I'm not sure if that's
I was
something
gonna say
you're
that's
on
an
your radar
excellent
or not.
question.
I mean, because that floating gear, I think we wanna know how well it works versus the on the bottom gear.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there are potentials for it to have cormorants and other birds,
Yeah.
Rest on it, and it causes
Yeah,
a
if
serious
there's-
pollution
right.
problem. I mean, in
Yeah,
North Sea Harbor, when the Conscious Point Oyster Company had their floating gear, there were, high scores as far as, fecal coliform from the birds. And I know up in Great South Bay, the Nature's Conservancy had a terrible problem with resting birds on there. So I was just wondering
Yeah.
if you've incurred that kind of problem and
We-
how it's worked.
we haven't, my experience with floating gear, and kind of being looped into that whole industry is it can be very site-specific. So there are certain areas, like when I worked for the town of East Hampton, our site was in Napeague Harbor, and that's like right along the coastline of Napeague Bay. So it's part of that whole flyway, and so you get, especially in the fall, a lot of the cormorants. But that was 200 cages, whereas we have 15. So when you have a huge field of these, also we're pretty close to the shoreline, and we get you know, osprey and hawk. I know the osprey aren't going after the birds, but you get red-tailed hawks and, like you said, bald eagles. So some of those things act as a natural deterrent. So we haven't really had more than a couple birds trying to use that at a time, nothing more than you'd have on a regular dock. But I understand it. I know it can be a concern. For us in that spot, we're only in a few feet of water. And so the floating gear is pretty critical because it keeps it at the surface. Also, we're maintaining it from shore, and we use like volunteers and school groups and staff. So I have the floating cages set up on a pulley line, and I go in and pull them right into shore, and then we can, you know, 2 people, even 1 person, when they're light, you just flip them over. You can access everything versus with the bottom gear, you really need, you know, you need mechanics. So there's, you know, we're not trying to become a commercial oyster grower. I'm not trying to expand stuff much beyond the scale of what it is. But, you know, for a commercial operation, I would be hesitant, like, to, you know, permit more than a certain amount of cages.
Yeah,
and,
well,
you know,
I mean, where you are, it's kind of like sheltered. You don't have to worry about interaction with navigation and stuff like that. Kayakers and, you know, paddleboarders can navigate through it. So you're not gonna have issues like that. But taking it to the next step, if we're gonna allow you to do this and expand on it somewhat, and we're not gonna let the commercial guys in Western Shinnecock do it, I think we should, you know, I definitely think we should have a public hearing to discuss the couple proposed areas and discuss the application that you want to use, at least for the public to, you know, for their edification. I mean, I think I think everybody's gonna be supportive of this, but there are many user groups over there, and I wanna make sure that everybody has a little bit of input, so during the, you know, permitting process, so that we can specifically say, we're gonna allow this, this, and this, and everybody knows what's gonna go there. I mean, I think that the project, as you're proposing it, is a wonderful thing. I mean, it's being proactive and not reactive, and that's really smart as far as, you know, shellfish and the shellfish enhancement.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should move forward with whatever we need to do as far as next step, whether it be
Well,
public hearing.
you still have to clearly define what the you know,
Right.
the barriers are, and you're talking about
Yeah,
other areas. so-
Boundaries.
the boundaries, yeah.
Boundaries.
I mean,
The
of
boundaries.
barriers.
James
Yeah.
and I will sit with Peter, and we can go over and kind of critique it to what, you know, I think is best as a commercial and knowing the recreational use of it. And then we could preliminary present it to the board, and if we're good with that, then we can move forward to
To
the
the
public
public hearing, yeah,
process. I think it's a pretty, you know, you're not gonna do it this year because it's winter's
Right,
coming
yeah,
up.
and what happened, we got our oyster seed late, our new oyster seed late this year, so typically we put some of that out, but because we got it 3 to 4 weeks late, I'm gonna overwinter it all, you know, so I'm just trying to get my ducks in a row for
Next
the
year.
beginning of
Yeah.
next
It's a
season.
lot of planning,
Appreciate
it takes a
that.
lot of planning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we
Plus, if you're
appreciate
gonna
that.
apply to the state and Army Corps, I mean, I don't see problems in these areas because you're not gonna really interfere with navigation. It's not like in Western Shinnecock Bay where you're out in a big bay. There's a lot more water there, a lot more different boat traffic. So, yeah, I mean, I'll gladly meet with you and James and come up with, you know, a good, you know, parameters of the site and finalize what you wanna do as far as the floating stuff, and then we'll present it as a public hearing if everybody's okay with it.
Great,
All right.
Okay,
good.
thanks.
Thank you,
All right,
Pete.
thank you very much.
It's good to see you.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming in.
Thank you.
Peter.
All right, so now,
Oh, one more, and Pete,
Yeah.
real quick on Red Creek, we already have that memorialized as a sanctuary,
Yeah.
that, so I mean, if you're adding, so we don't need to go through anything with the DEC, or, that's been a
Right,
sanctuary for
yeah.
30 years.
Yeah, so, but specifically, we're looking to set something up in Cold Spring.
Okay. All right,
So, you know, I recognize and I'm grateful that those other sanctuaries, but our boat is in Red Creek Pond. We don't have a boat that's easy to trailer, so it's like getting to Red Creek Pond is great, getting to North Sea Harbor. You know, I can get into Shinnecock. Some of the other spots are a little far, but, you know,
okay.
Cold Spring, just because we have the nursery there, it's productive. There's plenty of bottom, so, you know, ideally we'd be looking just to set something up
All right,
over there.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the waterfowl hunting location permit applications for determination. Hello, Linnea.
Good
morning.
Hi, Linnea.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let me just sign in quick.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, good morning. First up, we have for Scott Horowitz, we have Joseph A. Timpanaro and Joseph C. Timpanaro, permit number 259. They'd like to transfer of co-permittee from Joseph C. Timpanaro to Michael Timpanaro. Michael is not a current blind holder and he's not on the wait list. I sent it over to Rich and Al and they approved it on their end. Trustee board makes final decision. Everything's Blue Book compliant.
Okay,
All
Blue
right.
Book compliant.
So you'd like to approve
Advance
it? Advance it? Okay. Okay, and then next we have there's no number, it's a new proposed location for Adam Dean,
Is that the West
Denial.
Hampton or the East Quad?
East Quogue. And yes, it is a denial. I sent it over to Rich and Al, and this was Rich's response. Linnea, we have reviewed the attached application, but we would have to deny the request due to the close proximity of blinds number 77 and 76. Please let him know that the locations depicted on the town's GIS system are not accurate locations, so distances will vary. So Adam was proposing, James, if you don't mind zooming in a little bit, and go over to the right. Right in there actually is where he was proposing his blind location to be.
Not drainage.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a denial.
All right.
It's less than 200 yards from the other blind.
Yeah, no. Okay.
So we're gonna advance it as a denial. All right, and for Ed's area, we have George Barkis, permit number 66. He would like to add a co-permittee, Brian Doroska. And Brian Doroska is a current permit blind holder of number 34. He's not on any other blinds besides number 34, and it is his own blind. I sent it over to Rich and Al. They said all attached looks good, approved in RN. Trustee board makes final determination.
Yeah, this is on East Rampester Point, so yeah.
Mhm.
I'm good with that.
You're good with it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then next we have, excuse me, and we have Charles B. Schuster. He's approved from the wait list, so he'd like to take spot number 200, which is located, close to Morton Refuge. So it's close to federal land, but I've already discussed with, Rich and Al about what type of a blind can be used there. For Charles, this was their response. Everything looks good on our end, approved, but the trustees make final determination. On another note, please make sure that Mr. Schuster knows that the location has to be either a floating blind or a duck boat, since the spot is located by Morton Wildlife Refuge federal lands. No shore or stake blinds are allowed.
Hey, Ed.
Yes.
I think a duck boat we should limit to a duck boat because you don't want a blind to sit there year round by the sanctuary.
That and also its
weather.
proximity to the channel.
Yeah.
It's literally, I mean, that blind is like right on the edge of the channel there.
James, thank you. That's what I was just gonna ask. Can you draw back a little bit?
There's already at least one other blind in there, so I mean, you wouldn't want to leave a blind
No.
year-round there.
So
maybe to a-
A duck boat.
A duck boat would be, you know, you could take it in and out, and then at the end of the season, it's out, and then no one has to, worry about it.
Okay.
There was an issue, James, draw back just a little bit more. There was an issue with I think it was a proposed blind location just a bit to the north. Do you remember the details on that? Just the proximity to Morton has been brought up by residents as as something that they're concerned about.
Well, that one that's further to the north, there are walking trails on both sides of, where the hunting, where the blind is. The one that's where it's proposed now, it's away from the walking trails.
You could actually make that way up there, and you can make that a sanctuary.
Right, but
You
what
could
I'm,
propose for that if you wanted to.
right. But I'm also looking at, there are many people that walk on Clam Island. So if you're shooting across the channel there, what's the distance of that channel?
Oh, it's probably less than 300 feet.
Right,
James, how far is it? Maybe 300 feet? But
Just-
you'd physically see them when you're walking there.
I just want to remind you guys, these are not exact locations.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's problematic.
I just think that that's something that we should
You wanna hold it?
look at, maybe. Yes. I think it should just be revisited as far as the east side there.
Revisited on the Bay Constable's end, like have them review the location? Okay. So you'd like to hold it, pending,
Please.
okay. I know, in the past I've asked Rich to review it, so I'll also find any correspondence I have for that as well.
Excellent.
Thank
hold.
you.
Yeah. So next up, we have, in Bill Parrish's area is Michael Tessitore. There's no number, it's a new proposed location. And I apologize, I left my folder downstairs. So it's off, it's in West Hampton. It is, James, do you have the email I sent you?
Yeah,
For
What's
application?
recommendations?
this is the location over
Yeah,
here.
okay.
Do you want me to bring up the other,
Um,
the map on there?
James, could
no,
you
I
please-
actually, I messed up and I left the folder in the office, so we might have to hold this because I left the folder in the office.
Yeah, we
Oh,
need the
as far as the
recommendations.
I don't know what
Mhm.
the-
Oh,
So sorry about that. I thought I put it in the bucket.
If you just
I
show.
can I do know that there was more research given rather than a recommendation for this spot.
Okay, so
So-
we hold it
So-
anyway
just
then?
hold
Yeah, it might be more of a discussion
Okay.
anyways, yeah.
It's on hold.
I apologize
We don't
for
have
that.
enough.
It's on the very west end of the town,
We-
on the Brookhaven line.
We
Okay.
need the,
So right near Cupsock?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it's out in the bay though, not.
we need all the
Copse
information.
Cove is way to
For
the
sure.
southwest.
Sorry about
Okay.
that.
That's another place where you wanna have a boat, cause you're
Well,
blind, or
you
get
can't,
lost.
yeah, you can't walk up there.
No.
You need to have the ability to go by boat.
Okay. Thank you,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Linnea.
Thank you, guys.
All right, let's go to the general permit applications for determination. The first one I have is for Deborah Tennyson Feinstein, 17 Weesick Avenue. I see Shoreline Bulkheading representative is here for presentation and discussion.
Good morning, Trustee.
Morning, morning.
Here?
Yeah, you can sit down.
This is-
Okay. 17 Lisa. Okay, so for this client, we are going to, well, I'm Kristen Chovich, and I'm here representing Debbie Tennyson, and we are here for her project to remove and replace 180 feet of bulkhead, increasing the elevation 12 inches and replacing on top of the bulkhead capping.
Right. Blue Book compliant.
Blue Book compliant, we are not extending out into the water. We are just simply ripping out and removing in kind. There are not any bulkheads on either side of this property.
Okay.
So
And
we
it's
were requesting to increase.
shot. It's gotta be done, and, and that is going into Weesick Creek, which is right where our sanctuaries are, so it would be good to come up, and it would be good to stop runoff coming off of this
To
property.
the other neighboring properties.
Yeah, you know, and into the waterway, because,
It's an old bulkhead.
right, so we tear out the old bulkhead, put in a new compliant bulkhead.
And she would stick within the natural vegetation. She's already has a buffer there.
I don't see a buffer, but,
On the plants.
On the plans, she has a buffer.
It's just non-veget.
Oh, okay.
No, she's
yes.
got on the plans, naturally
Naturally
vegetated, non-disturbance
vegetated,
buffer
25
behind the
feet.
bulkhead. Yeah, she has it on the
Right.
plans.
right. And
So
what,
you-
okay. What about, on either side if neither property is bulkheaded?
We have the returns. The proposed, there's an 18-foot, 16-foot southern return and 20-foot northern return.
Right.
And you're way far back in this creek with this property, so you're not getting pounded by wave action, all the time there.
Right, it's tough.
So if
And
you can stop the runoff coming from the property, because it kind of slopes
down to the other, right.
So if you can come up and eliminate all the upland influence from that property into the waterway, it would be a positive thing, especially with engaging in that buffer. So getting rid of the old bulkhead, repairing that with Blue Book compliant, putting the buffer in.
Yes.
And coming up a bit, getting the returns in there so that you have the structural integrity that you need for it. You'll
What's the ask for elevation
We asked for 12
You're asking
inches.
for 12.
with no bulkhead on either side? You're asking for 12?
Yes.
Why?
To limit the water runoff to either of the neighboring properties. So if we raise that elevation and with our returns, that should.
Right, 'cause if you look to that property to the south there, you'll see that the slope in that picture, you'll see how it comes down, so it would actually help more tie into what's going on there and stopping everything coming off the upland and just feeding right into Weesick.
Right, but as you just stated, this is quite far up
It's quite-
in the creek.
Yeah, so you're not
there's
gonna have that wave
no
action.
fetch.
Yeah,
There's
no,
no
you're not gonna have
fetch.
that banging it, no, but you will have stuff coming off the upland, getting into it, so the buffer's gonna be a great thing that she does.
All right, so.
And you can see the line, if you look at where that line is on that bulkhead.
It's a very low.
It's
I was-
low.
yeah.
Yeah,
The southern end of it is almost the high water.
Yeah, the
mark.
right, you can
exposure,
see
yeah.
that with the,
The,
And then there's a little lip behind it, which you almost could be matching the lip that's behind it. See that little retaining wall that's shown there? So it's gonna stop the runoff from coming from the
Right.
upland, or reduce it.
Well, being that there's no, it's grass right to the edge of the bulkhead now, the 10 feet of buffer will definitely help that. But I'm just concerned about a rise in height of 12 inches, given that this is pretty far north in a protected creek, and that there's no bulkheading on the adjacent properties. And I'm just wondering, what are we protecting here?
well, you're protecting,
neighboring properties, you're protecting
The water coming
the
down.
water coming down.
Reducing the runoff, that's what I think you're gonna accomplish by elevating it. It's gonna, I mean, the property is, there's a lip on that, what is it, 8 inch or maybe a foot, and then right up behind it, there's another, you can see another berm, so it's kinda like staggered down, so if you can somewhat, level it, it would reduce the sheet runoff on initial, hard rain, and the bulkhead that's currently there looks like it's,
way too low.
it's pretty, I mean, it's low. I mean,
Yeah, it's not an egregious raise, it's a reasonable raise to protect the waterway and account for the sea level rise that's occurring there. And the big concern with the bulkheading is the displacement of wave energy affecting the adjoining properties, but you don't have that on a regular basis there. So it's about stopping that runoff and securing the land that's there for the people that own the land, and just having something that's gonna be there for, 40, 50 years, and just, you're not gonna get the negative, you'll just get the positive.
I do have another question. There's
Sure.
a floating dock and some other remnants of a dock. Is that gonna be replaced with this project?
No, it is not. There's on the plans, there is a wood dock that is currently there.
So you're gonna take that out and
We'll just reattach.
reattach with the old material? Because I've seen projects like this in the past, and, they said they're gonna put the old material back, and it never ends up being the old material. It's usually replaced with something new, being that the boards they look like they've been there.
Well, now we're gonna be ripping out that wood, that walk there,
Okay.
and we're gonna be using capping now, which is
Okay.
stipulated in the,
So you're
plan.
gonna reduce the area of
Yes.
decking,
Yes.
and then you're gonna have like
the buffer, like
like
just
an 18-inch or a 24-inch cap
capping.
on the corrugated.
Yes, it is.
So you're reducing the amount of
It's-
potential runoff
Yes,
from that.
yes.
Okay.
And the capping's on here. I think it's an 18-inch capping that
Yeah.
we are using.
And I do see a
So that
lot-
would be the new,
Yeah,
okay,
so you can walk on it.
yeah.
And I do see there's an electrical service here. Do you plan on replacing that?
No. Where,
Isn't that an electrical service right here, Scott? Looks like an
It
electric.
looks like it, yeah, but it's not in their plans.
Yeah, but if there's, it should be permitted.
oh,
Cap.
You'd have to go to.
you'd have to go
the,
through the electrical
Exactly.
certificate to get
Exactly.
that
That's
and
not
give
us.
to
You
you.
have to go through
Yes.
the building
Yes.
department
Right,
for that.
okay.
Yes.
And that's it, yeah, you'd have to go through that.
And give it to you before inspection and
Yes.
obtaining compliance.
You just wanna
Yes.
make sure you're doing it the right way.
Yep,
Yeah. Electrical and water don't get along.
yes.
Sorry.
Tell me about it.
But the project she's asking for itself is,
No, I think removing the
Yes.
large decking that's there, elevating it slightly, and which wouldn't even be as high as the ground behind it, would cut
Correct.
down on the potential for sheet runoff. And then having a 25-foot buffer, I think it's a pretty good project.
yeah, and the bulkhead there is shot,
Yes.
so I don't have a problem with it. Parrish, trustee Parrish? You with that, trustee Pell?
I'm fine with that.
All right. All right, so it's just the electrical, you gotta.
Before, prior to
Yeah, you have
inspection.
to,
Correct.
that's not, yeah, that's
Yeah.
Okay,
a different jurisdiction, but,
okay.
all right. Is there anything else on here?
That is it for me
That's it.
today.
Okay.
Thank you, trustees.
See you next time.
Have a great Monday.
Yeah,
Yep.
you too.
got it.
stamp plan, so we'll advance it.
Yeah.
Thank you, James.
Thanks.
Okay, the next one that I have is Robert Cavallino, 20 Corwin Lane, Hampton Bays. First Coastal Corp. Representing is Mr. Billy Mack.
Morning, everybody.
Morning,
Yeah,
Billy.
it's
This is actually a very simple modification to a permit that was already secured. This is a staircase down a bulkhead, an existing bulkhead. And
No,
we're
this
just,
is 20 Corwin.
oh, sorry. I'm in the wrong file
This is the
here.
rock revetment
Thank you. James.
20,
replacement.
yeah, I was wondering what you were
Okay,
talking about.
this
20
is-
Corwin Lane.
Yeah. Existing rock revetment that needs repair.
So you want to remove the existing revetment stone, place filter fabric,
Mm-hmm.
approximately 2,500 square feet, 75 tons of new rip-wrap bedding stone, place approximately 125 tons of new 1 to 3 ton revetment stone. Cover the revetment with approximately 80 cubic yards of clean sand and plant beach grass, 12 inches on center.
Exactly. This area got hit pretty bad. It's got an open fetch. The existing rock revetment over the last several decades has certainly done its job, but it needs help right now. It's getting overtopped, and the upper land is now eroding into the bay.
It gets a lot of fetch over there.
It does. It's sandwiched between an existing rock revetment and a bulkhead.
The majority of this shoreline is,
100 and some, it's either bulkheads or.
Can you do an overhead shot, James?
right,
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, this is open to the westerly.
What other permits do you have?
We're applying to the DEC, we haven't gotten that back yet.
Okay, right. So this is not an urgency right this second, you got some
No,
time,
no,
because
we need to
there may
meet.
be future modification to this.
Yep.
What is the current elevation of the rock revetment that's there, and how is it much different? Is it to the proposed application?
Right now, the elevation's probably about, I would say somewhere around 8 feet. We're looking to go probably match, I believe, the bulkhead height.
How's the rock embankment just north of that doing?
That one's doing better than this one, but it's in the same,
Same
same
height?
vintage, yeah,
Is it the same height?
same height, yeah.
Did-
Sorry.
Did you consider the possibility of a living shoreline? I know it's not a very long stretch, but offshore with some plantings? I mean, given that there are two contiguous properties here?
Yeah, I'd love to do a living shoreline there. They're best done with, you know, several hundred feet.
I don't know if this
Yeah.
area is a good
Property.
candidate for that.
When was this project originally
A lot
done?
of weather there.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
good
huge-
question. I'm guessing it was probably early
Hey, James, keep
80s.
back out of it. Yeah. Just keep-
Early
keep-
80s?
Keep
Yeah,
going.
And that's
So
just a
it's-
guess,
So it's 40 years old,
yeah.
I mean,
approximately.
Why don't you think it's a good
For-
place for a
For living
shoreline?
shoreline act?
Well, usually, we like to, they're more effective if it's several hundred feet with living shoreline, because the breakwater that we'd have to build, you know,
It's too small an area, I
Too
think,
small.
for it to be effective.
it's a really,
Might force pennies on either
I
end.
don't know if you're gonna accomplish what you want to accomplish in such a short area.
I don't think I don't think this is that old of a project, because I remember being down here, I'm thinking something like in the late 90s, early 2000s.
yeah, I don't have
James, can
that
you see if
information.
there's any permits for this? Because I remember going down there and the bluff behind it being pretty well eroded out.
It could be why.
This goes back to 15. Otherwise, I would have to do more.
It's older than 15?
Yeah,
Hmm.
let's see it on here.
Yeah, I thought I toggled through some,
Yeah, for the living shoreline
Aerials.
thing to work, I think you're gonna need to have a more holistic approach for that area.
you know, it's the placement of that offshore breakwater that would be hard to define, and what the size of it would be. Because it is, you know, it would impact the shoreline, and we're not exactly sure how that would work.
And that's why I think we should,
Between
you know,
2004 and 2008, looks like it was.
Is that what you think? Okay.
2004, yeah.
Okay.
so you have no feedback yet.
2004.
It was when I was on the board.
So there's a revetment
And this is, there's no.
north.
Yeah, this was completely eroded out. I mean, because there's projects that were to the south of it or east of it that were bulkheads. And it had swept around here and had really badly eroded the property.
And this is 2000.
Okay,
See, that's
so
where.
early 2000s.
Yeah. So, I mean, realistically, it's actually done a good job.
Yeah,
Right, so now
I mean-
you're looking to just bolster it.
yeah, just fix it up.
I mean, I
it's-
don't see any terrible erosion. I mean, unless you got some other pictures, then,
Yeah, I mean,
7/10, 2000, see, I mean, you got the same pictures I'm looking at. I don't see where it's taking down the vegetation or anything.
It's really well vegetated behind it, landward of
Yeah,
it.
it
and
might be
it's-
worth
the
a,
bank. The bank is stable.
it might be worth a visit, because they have been actively trying to keep that vegetation going. And it continues to get washed.
Yeah,
I
you
know
should
we're
visit.
topped.
20 Corwin? Yeah.
Right, and in addition, we should wait for the other regulatory authorities to apply, because then perhaps it's going to be adjustment.
And the boat sitting in
Right.
there is killing it.
It could be.
Huh?
The boat sitting in there, in
A
the
little
bushes, killing the
kayak,
bushes.
yeah. I see that too.
It shouldn't be there.
Yeah, happy to set a
Do-
time.
Do we need access? Is there a gate on that house?
I don't think there is,
All right,
but I'll find out.
All right,
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and,
I'd really like to take a site visit before
put that
I.
on hold.
Yeah.
You
happy
can
to
walk
connect
in
with you
from
to
low
do it.
tide from Corwin Lane, though, right? From the boat launch?
Well, you need a good low tide because it's bulkheads.
Yeah,
there.
there's a fountain.
And it's pretty wet most of the time.
Let's go.
Okay.
All
Billy,
right.
do you have anything else?
I do, and if you guys wanna talk
Yeah,
about it.
let's just
we-
get rid
we
of it.
can.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Not get rid of.
you know what I mean.
Move them on.
forward.
I'm not gonna get rid of it.
So the one I was originally talking about was 17 Corman, that is next.
Yeah,
And that's
Donahue.
here. Yeah, that is we're looking to just modify the existing permit to change the upper platform from a 4x4 to a 4x6, because it lines up with the bulkhead construction as it is right now.
Yeah,
It would be off a little, and the stairs would have to be a little wonky.
yeah.
So, we're just requesting that upper platform, instead of being 4x4, it's 4x6, and it runs down the face of the bulkhead.
Do you, can we see the plans?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Please.
here's the existing bulkhead,
Right,
and this is what we are proposing along the face of the bulkhead, and a set of stairs to go down.
It's gonna
Okay.
run parallel to the bulkhead.
Exactly
And
right.
not perpendicular.
Right.
For Beeks, walking access along it, you can walk around it.
Right, and then this top set of pilings make it very difficult to align the staircase with the,
okay.
And
New
it's
construction.
similar like to the permit that
Yeah.
we'd given,
Very.
and you guys had put in
right
last.
down, two
And it
doors down.
survived the storms that we've had.
It has, yeah, because it's tight to the bulkhead.
Yes,
Through flow, and,
the other set of stairs he had washed away during the Christmas storm last year.
yeah, and they went out too far.
Yes,
These are in tight.
yeah,
They
that's,
seem to work really
that's
well.
good, that's a good project.
Thank you.
Do you have one more?
I do.
So that one's advancing?
Yeah,
Yes.
please.
And
We
this,
have 34 West.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Just wanna make sure I have the right plans. Which one was the most
that
recent plan?
says 4x6.
Was it
Should have a 4x6 on the top. Revised, yeah, is that
this
it?
one, right? Is this the most recent, May? No.
No, the cover letter indicates the change request.
I think we permitted this already, and you're
You
looking
did
to amend it.
already, yeah. That might be it.
September?
Said say 4x6 at the top, yes it does.
Yeah, and then, but then there's a 4x8 landing, is that,
That one was already permitted.
that was permitted, right?
It's the top platform one.
Okay.
That's
So
the
that's
change.
changing from
Yeah.
4x4.
Four
Yeah,
by
where it's
four.
coming
That's
off
the
the,
change.
initially where it comes off the bulkhead.
Exactly.
Right, that's the change.
Yeah.
We're good?
And this one's not stamped though.
That is not stamped.
Okay,
We
so you
will
need
provide that,
stamp.
yeah. And 34 West Bridge in West Hampton Beach.
Yeah.
It's an existing bulkhead on a slip, looking to reconstruct.
180 foot of existing bulkhead, increased top elevation of the bulkhead by 18 inches.
That's what we're requesting.
Reconstruct in place 4 by 146 existing wood walkway and existing 150 square feet of wood deck.
Correct.
Increase top elevation of the wallway and deck by 18 inches, untreated wood to be used, and a 10-foot wide buffer area.
Correct, with beach grass.
Why we're asking for 18 inches?
This is an old bulkhead. It's relatively, it's certainly in marginal shape. It's still there, it's still existing and holding the land up, but it gets overtopped frequently. It also has a functional deck on it that also gets overtopped. And we're looking to, the neighboring adjacent bulkhead is probably 6 inches higher. And that was redone about 10 to 15 years ago.
So this boat slip, what you're asking for is only the north side of the boat slip? Because the
exactly.
property to the southwest owns the southern side.
That's correct, and they redid theirs, like I said, 10 years ago or more, 15. And this is all wetlands north of it. So flooding issue is not a problem, but it's just functionality and trying to minimize any kind of discharge of soils, land, whatever. But it is, again, a relatively low bulkhead, even the adjacent property gets overtopped during storms.
So the proposed bulkhead is only on the slip?
It's only within the slip,
Okay.
the dug section.
And it's only a portion of it too, because
It's a-
they only
yeah.
own
What's the rest
north
of the
side.
bulkhead shape like that they own?
The rest of the, pardon?
the rest of the bulkheading that this is attaching to?
That's the neighboring, so that was redone, a
It
decade
dead
plus
ends
ago.
into the neighbors to the other side.
Yeah, and then, so north of this is all natural wetlands on the property, so there's,
No bulkhead.
no bulkhead, yeah.
So this is the connection to the neighboring bulkhead?
Yeah.
So you're gonna raise to match them.
He wants to go beyond
No,
that.
they're
We'd
going
like to
18
go-
inches, which would be-
We're requesting 18 inches.
Right, but you're just picking that as the state's
Yes,
broad brush. So what do you really think you need there?
I think we need 18 inches, it gets flooded on a regular basis.
But how's that gonna look? How's that gonna play out? Go back to like the slip itself to see what that's gonna look like there. So picture that in that scenario, 18 higher, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So then-
visually it will look different, but it will
But how
provide
you-
better flood protection.
But if it's gonna come up through the unbulkheaded property
In
on
front,
the other side,
on both sides, on all,
I mean, this
it's
is-
gonna get
this
out
looks
flanked
like
on
the
both
high
Then you're gonna
sides.
have a water gush up when it exits.
And also, James, if you pull up the aerial, if you look, the property, the subject property, and then the property to the north all have healthy wetland.
Yeah.
So flooding, as stated, is not an issue here.
Just the
To
landward
the,
side of the
on,
bulkhead.
on
Yeah,
the, on
exactly.
the landward side.
It won't have any impact on the
Right,
northern
so
portion of the
Or
bulkhead.
the
all
house.
of that, wetlands absorbs any flooding. So I think that to look at, matching the property to the south would be prudent at this point.
What's the high water mark on the, okay?
I mean, it looks like, this looks like the average, right, Billy? And then
Yeah, I mean, that
a little
darker is
higher up.
probably the average high. Yeah,
So I don't know, I can't tell how far that is.
probably 2 feet,
At least.
yeah. You know,
so 2 feet plus another 18 feet?
3.5 feet?
Inches.
I mean,
That's a lot.
I mean,
It's
18
fine.
inches?
I haven't asked for that yet.
That's.
God.
That'd be a
That'll be
gigantic wall.
That's the next year, that's
a
next
barrier.
year's.
how about if we propose 6 inches above the adjacent property?
I think that's sensible.
We're
I can
getting
see
there.
Yeah,
We're getting
Yeah.
there.
we're getting there.
I
That's,
think-
that's sensible, I think.
So
I
what
think-
would that be, like
You
8
told it
inches or
12.
something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I
12.
like to know how much it would be, considering that it looks like mean high water is 2.5 feet down from the top of the
That's what I was
present
getting at.
What the
bulkhead.
elevation is? Yeah, and I
So
don't have
why-
elevation
3.5
on
feet.
here.
So now you're 3.5 feet,
Right.
One on
18
Weesick,
inches.
with the one on Weesick, you only had
You,
inches.
you had nothing there. It was right up to the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, total
Yeah.
different. You didn't see that. You saw nothing there.
Yeah, there's no
Different scenario.
indicated elevations
Elevation?
Right.
on the survey. So I can update that for sure. But we could also get your feedback and go back to the property owner, see what they'd be willing to accept based on your recommendations.
I mean, you're 6 above.
Yeah, I could definitely see the 6 to
Yeah.
match the neighbors.
Okay.
That
We'll-
I could
we'll
see, and
suggest that.
everything, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty high bulkhead, I
You're
mean.
saying 6 above the neighbor, right?
It's 6 above the existing.
That's what he's
6
not looking
above
to
the
match,
existing.
he
Yeah.
wants to go above. so
Match it and go
that's-
above by.
Is that 6 inches or is that 8 inches? I
No,
mean,
Yeah,
that's
I
like,
think-
that's like maybe 4 to 6.
If
I
we,
mean, this
if
is
we
probably
knew,
6 by 6 here, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
um,
so it's 4 inches then, if
So
it's a
you're
6.
4 plus another
so you're going up 10 inches.
10 inches.
On a bulkhead that the mean high water is substantially below the top of the bulkhead.
I mean, it sounds sensible.
What?
Yeah. I mean, you're coming up to match and then you're just going a little bit more for a capping, right? You're not talking about this much. You're only talking
Yeah,
a
I
small amount.
I mean, I have a
And it
view.
still has to be 4 inches on the other, the grade on the other side has to be 4 inches down.
Yeah,
it has to
so
be
you're
4 inches.
realistically only raising it 8 inches.
Right. So it's not, you're not coming up that high.
I do have a view that,
I mean,
and I've talked to many people that own bulkheads, and every single time they say, we should have gone higher when we originally built this or when we
Right.
rebuilt
Well,
it.
Yeah, but you
So-
can't just take a, cause
I get it.
you got the unbulkheaded part on the other side, so
Mhm.
you try and find some sensible,
Middle ground.
Yeah.
which would, when you're coming up to match and then going a little bit beyond, because you have a structure that you want to last for, 40, 50 years or more, right?
When was the last time the water went over the top?
I think last week
We've had some serious high tides,
we have.
major high tides we've been having,
When?
and wind.
And
It's
wind.
been, it's been,
And
been
that's on
nasty.
That's exposed to the eastern.
It's a
exposure.
money bug.
Yeah, and it's got a fetch to it, but, the wetlands, like Ann had indicated, are absorbing most of the energy and flooding there. This is more for the function and utility of the boating space in the slip.
Right,
And
which I could understand, matching
So
and then going.
you're looking to raise the bulkhead to protect the boat during a storm.
the boat and just the upland, the stuff that's there.
Well, the
On that
upland's
corner.
not gonna get protected because you got everything flooding from the north,
Well,
so.
the upland parts of the dock and the.
Yeah.
It's got docking components there and stuff.
Yeah, that's why you can't go too high, because you're gonna make a mess, so, but there is a happy median there that probably makes sense.
I'd propose 6 inches above the neighboring property, which would probably lay out to about
8 inches.
8 inches, 8 to maybe 10 tops.
Right.
But we can cap it at 8 if you guys feel comfortable with that.
I
I think 8 would be
I
good.
think it sounds sensible to me.
Talking a few inches, but,
That's fine.
To me, it sounds sensible, I don't know what
we
you
don't wanna
think.
do it, we don't wanna raise it
8
too high where you're gonna
inches is
get water's ricocheting back and destroying the wetlands either.
Right.
Okay, I will, in the meantime, go back. If you guys are fine with the 8-inch, I'll ask the property owner if they're okay with that.
And what's the story with, along the bulkhead? What are you proposing that's now lawn?
Decking.
Decking, and then we're replacing the decking that's there, and then beach grass vegetation landward of that.
That won't be mowed?
It will definitely not be mowed. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it's beach grass,
God bless you.
bless you.
All right, so we're gonna go on hold, you're gonna go talk to your client, make adjustments in your plan,
Yep,
right?
based on that
Based on
8-inch. Yeah,
recommendations from the board.
thank you, guys.
All right.
Very much.
Welcome, have a good day, Billy.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, guys, yeah.
All right, so that's all that you have?
Yeah,
That's all I have.
that's his last one.
All right, so that's on hold.
Thanks,
So
Billy.
just going back up to mine,
Dune Road.
yeah, but that, we're gonna put on hold at request of the applicant's agent, so
Okay.
that's on hold, so we can go to trustee Pell.
Okay, we have Reason to Smile, LLC, 183 Shore Road. Come on up, Jeffrey. This is to remove and replace 102 feet existing bulkhead with new vinyl. As existing 4-foot wide untreated timber deck landward of the bulkhead, install a new 4-foot wide, 20-foot long fixed pier to a 3x10 aluminum ramp down to 6x16 floating dock supported by 4 10-inch diameter green hot piles. Install 1 10-inch green hot tie-off pile in the boat basin slip. And dredge 60 yards of spoil. Okay, you got the floor.
I'm just double checking here. It looks like you may have an old set of plans. What is the date on the plans you're looking at? The latest date?
It was stamped in September 18th, 2023.
Looks like,
What? September 18th?
11, I'm sorry, 6/27 is the date that you have.
So you
on
do
it.
have 6/27?
Yes.
Okay, so you have, that's the latest set of plans then?
Yeah.
Because that changed a little bit, because I have 6/27 as well. So if you look at the proposed plans, there's 45 cubic yards of dredging.
This says, on the cover sheet
Maybe the
says,
cover sheet,
60.
yeah.
So that would have to be,
45.
that'd be fixed.
So this project is removal and replacement of the existing bulkhead. As you see in the photos, it's failed, it's in poor condition. It's also, just as was listed in the last application, it's very low. If you look in the photos provided, it's about 12 inches of above high tide, and that's it. So this thing, water always overtops this bulkhead. We're asking for 18 inches of raise in height of existing. We're also creating, if you look at the layout, we're creating some open space, I should say some bay bottom. I believe it's like 48 or something square foot of additional bay bottom that we're giving back to the town area. We'll
Which
put
is
a-
already there.
What's that?
It's already there. You're just dredging it so you can get a boat in.
No, if you look at the layout of the old bulkhead and the new bulkhead, we're moving the new bulkhead landward on both corners. So it's actually, do you want me to point to it up there? Well, you can see here, it's, this is the old, that's the old bulkhead line
Yeah.
here. We're creating more water
So you're going
space.
back.
Yeah, and then the same thing on the opposite side. Here's the old bulkhead line here. And we're taking those triangles out and giving more
The dark
Right.
one is the,
The new one.
proposed, yeah.
Proposed.
Yeah, so the dark is the proposed, the dashed is the old, so we are
Might be two
increasing.
bulkheads there, that's why they have to do that.
maybe.
You gotta go back to the original line, as per Blue Book.
Yeah.
Well, we're extending it out further.
If there's a bulkhead and they put a bulkhead in front of it, you'd pull it back, both bulkheads, so it's, you usually,
You gotta
Oh,
go back
yeah.
to the original line.
the original pier line of the original bulkhead.
Well, we wanna go beyond that.
Oh,
We wanna give you guys more water
when you say go beyond that, you mean you wanna.
So
pull-
James,
landward of that.
James, show
Yeah, 'cause when you're
the,
saying go beyond,
show
Land-
the aerial, and then you'll be able to see better,
Yeah.
for whatever.
Yeah, exactly, that's the existing bulkhead.
Yeah.
The dash line there and there.
You wanna
So-
square it off.
We're squaring it off, so we're going landward of it, which is creating more surface area, more water area, more wetland area.
thanks for clarifying.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Alright.
that's within your boat slip, or
Yes.
your client's boat slip.
within the client's property.
Property.
Yes.
Yes. And that area is proposed to be dredged as well. In addition, there's gonna be a boardwalk put around it, with untreated decking. And then we are proposing a 4x28 fixed pier with a 3x10 ramp and a 6x16 floating dock, all supported with green hard piles and bracings, which is exactly the same dimensions as the neighbor just did to the south. So,
See, the reason, not to interrupt you, but the
Mhm.
reason we gave, permits for the indented boat slips like that,
mhm.
because it's a little bit too narrow up in there to have that out there. So you're asking to have, you got the marina across the way with big boats,
Mhm.
and you're gonna end up taking too much space. That's why your neighbor has an indented boat slip,
Yeah,
the next one has it, the next one has it, because by the time you go out and tie a boat there,
Mhm.
it's too crowded for boats to go by,
Right.
and boats sticking out, so I'm not for the float and the dock right, I'll tell you that right off the
Mhm.
bat.
Agreed.
Plus you don't have enough water, you have 1, 2, 3, probably, you could tie 5 boats up in there,
Mhm.
and you're only allowed to have 2 boats per property.
Right.
So
So,
you're asking for too much
right,
for it, so I think the best for you to come back and with another set of plans and just aim on this and forget about this up over here. 'Cause
Right.
I'm not for that right now, because you end up having to chalk this. I know this waterway like Ed very well,
Yeah.
and it's tight up in there, and
Mm-hmm.
I already get complaints from the other neighbors about boats sticking out too
Right.
far from the marina,
turning around.
turning around,
Yeah, I mean,
and it's just not, if you're around the corner with the other one, it's fine, okay?
it opens up.
It opens up, but where you are up there, and it's just too much. Your neighbor's dock is floated in there, and we've been having trouble with that whole area where there's a few more illegal docks up in there,
right.
and there's a lot of junk.
Yep, and also their rental boats that are coming in and out from the
Oh.
marina to the south,
Yeah.
in
Right, right, right.
addition to the large boats that are at the marina just across the way.
Right.
So,
Is
it's,
that the latest, is that your latest GIS?
No, sorry.
I thought that there was immediately to the south of this, there was a new dock that was just put in with the same exact dimensions. I could be wrong, but that's what the client told me. It was just yeah, it must be that one there.
Yeah,
So
that-
if you look at the
But
projection
he-
of that one out
yeah,
into
he's,
the
but he's
waterways,
at, the boat's at a different angle, see how that
Right.
angle is?
yeah.
Your boat would be
Yeah.
sticking out.
Well, it wouldn't project out any more.
Yes, it would, because you would have the float, then you have another 10-foot beam, then you have a foot in between.
Right,
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
right.
And
So.
Unless you're gonna tie a kayak to it.
Yeah, if we,
even then,
if I provided an aerial similar to this,
But I-
showing that there's no
No,
further
because you're
projection
not,
out.
what are you gonna do, provide an area and go over to your neighbors, okay, move your bulkhead back 30 feet so we
Right,
can
right.
have that. We just told you,
but
you can't do it. I don't wanna have to
But
argue
just,
with you.
but just from an analytical approach, just to jump in here for a second, can you go to the bathymetric, can show me the
Portion?
The
depths?
survey we provided.
Yeah, let me
Yeah.
see
I
the
thought
depths.
There's no water
There's no
there.
water there either.
So you're not, can you zoom in on that, because these glasses aren't, what do we got here?
1.7 on the inside.
On the
Yeah.
inside,
Yeah,
the
you-
outside
you-
is
so you
three
would need
point
to
four.
buck-
Yeah, so that's
Yes.
not making the tests as
Yeah.
it is, so the bottom line is that for it to actually make the tests, you're gonna be really choking down the waterway.
Yeah, you have too many
That's-
things against you.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's problematic, just from mathematical standpoint here,
Right,
that's the issue.
okay, so it's the projection, you're looking at the projection that's out with in
Yeah, because
reference
for
to
you
the water depth.
For you to get to 30 inches at the inner terminus of this thing, it's,
even then, Scott, it'll be sitting in the, basically the middle of that channel. and
well, that's
that
what I'm saying,
channel-
it
yeah.
won't work. It's,
You
it's,
can't-
you're gonna choke down the channel if
Yep.
it can't make all the tests
You
that it
put a-
has to make,
you
it's
put
not gonna work.
a 40-foot boat there with a 15-foot beam, there's gonna be
It-
virtually
You
no.
can't go,
It's not gonna work.
two
Not gonna
boats
work.
won't be
So
able to
mathematically,
cross.
this is problematic.
Yeah.
It's just,
But you already have the ability with your indented boat slip and the pier that's there.
Well, the pier's not there.
Not
He's
there.
proposing-
There's no pier, yeah.
He's, no
No,
period.
but you're
nothing there.
proposing it.
yeah, it doesn't
No,
make
no, no,
sense,
no.
yeah. The boat's better off
This
in
is one of the
indented area.
tightest
Yeah.
portions of the creek,
And very
So.
heavily navigated,
yes,
with a lot of complaints in the office from
Yes.
this past
Yes.
couple summers.
Major complaints.
Okay.
yeah, so.
I
I
mean, you've got a
think-
nice boat slip there, right?
Yeah, he wants floating dock. Is there potential to put a floating dock within that, boat slip?
If there's depth of water's correct,
The
yeah.
water, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, they're
Well,
dredging.
Along- proposing to
right
dredge.
along the bulkhead?
Dredging.
yeah.
Yeah,
Are,
so,
are let's back away from the proposed pier and floating dock section. Is there any issues with the bulkhead and the dredging?
I don't see,
I
I
don't
think
I
that's
don't
fine.
see that,
No.
actually, it's kinda like Co-op Canal, we would, ask people to do the indented boat slips to get
Mhm.
people, boats out of the navigable channel, and it would make navigation that much easier in there.
Right.
do a 6x20 float inside the base,
Yeah,
inside the
okay.
boat
Then
slip.
you'd have the water depth, then you'd have no, navigational issues.
Right, okay. What about the option of doing some sort of a fixed pier, coming out if we limited the length out?
You could do that.
For what purpose?
Well, let's, for instance, if he does have, I don't know what size boat he has. If he has a
40-foot boat.
40-foot boat,
Then you need a little
we
bit
need
more
some additional,
facage of a
Yeah.
bulkhead for the top.
so if we came out with, let's say, right now it's 28-foot long, a 15-foot pier.
Well, let's take a look at the depths again.
Well, it's 1.3, we'd have to do some dredging there.
It's a fixed
Fixed
pier
pier,
proposed,
yeah,
right?
fixed pier, elevated fixed pier.
Yeah, I could see that working, because that would give you an option to tie the boat up there safely and
Right.
have a float there and wouldn't interfere with navigation.
And access the
Yeah.
boat for maintenance, really.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
You didn't go far in the dredging. 'Cause you're going,
We'd have to dredge a bit more.
yeah, cause you, look, you, even at the end of the 28 feet, what do you got there?
25-foot long, the.
No,
the boat?
at the end of the
Depth-
pier,
He's
Depth
got like
wise.
a foot of
Oh, it's a
water here.
foot, it's nothing.
for the water, but if you
So-
go out farther,
Then you got 2.2 here.
go out farther,
So you need to dredge it anyhow to put a boat in there,
yeah,
because you'd have a deep water dock
it's probably more
with
than
a
40
sandbar
yards.
in between the channel.
Yeah, way more than 40 yards. You're gonna have to do a lot of dredging to actually get that thing to work.
Yeah, we'll have to revisit that.
You gotta
So
revisit
you
this
gotta
whole
revisit
plan.
that.
The intent of that dredging was so you could put smaller, like a kayak or something, not kayak, but a little,
Yeah,
little guy up in the boat slip and get it in and out at high tide.
yeah.
I think you gotta like sit down with your client and do a whole
Yeah,
right.
reevaluation of what he wants to do
Okay.
here, because it's just, it's too mathematically challenged in many directions.
Yeah.
You really gotta take a good hard look at it, its effect on the surrounding waterway in terms of what's gonna make sense here.
Right.
And also, that property abuts the community-owned piece there. So there's access for the community right there.
Yeah,
So
it's
just
like a
so we're
community-
aware of that.
End of the road end there. It's owned by the, James, who, can you see who owns that?
It's
Is it town or the
part
trustees?
of the road, it looks like, it's not giving me a,
Then it's the,
Association.
the end of
Association.
Bay Avenue or something.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely sit down with your client,
Yeah.
take a hard look at this and the mathematics of this,
But he did
from
put-
every angle.
Yeah, he did put new drainage in there, I think your client did.
I don't know.
Yeah, someone put new drainage there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Kelly Giddes, 131 Big Fresh Pond Road. Come on up.
Hello.
How are you? Good, how are you?
Good, good.
Sorry for keeping you waiting there.
Oh, thank you for having me, I appreciate it.
This is a dock up in Big Fresh Pond. Just get the folder. You were in here a while back.
I was, yeah.
She had put a, to reapply permission to build a dock after we found that our 12x8 dock with catwalk consisted of only untreated cedar was not acceptable, except the trustees' regulations. So you're trying to,
So it's a dock that was built without the benefit of permits.
yes, yes.
In so many words, yes.
Yes,
We closed on this property in May of last year, and our two small sons, it was rusted nails, like one of them fell through, and my husband said that by July, it was a new dock. Yes, we're city people, we came up here.
dock, didn't
He did, he built the dock, yeah.
He did it himself?
He did, yeah. And in hindsight, we now understand it's not supposed to be wider than 6 feet.
Yeah.
There's flow-through material, which we hopefully have addressed in these new plans. When we were here before, this configuration, the kind of long L, that's kind of exactly what our neighbors have. That's what we had to go off of the first time. You guys had seen a picture of that and said you would
Yeah.
approve that configuration. So that's kind of what we went with. And that gives us a place to sit and fish with the boys and stuff.
Kayak, put a ladder on it too.
Safety ladder?
Safety
Oh,
ladder.
okay.
Yeah, safety ladder for the boys.
Because it's
Whatever else.
20, I think right there, it's 29 inches depth.
You still need a ladder.
Wanna
Yeah,
get out.
no, yeah.
Gotta be able to get out.
Yeah, if you got a kayak or something, it'll fall in.
Good point.
So the question is, are we Blue Book compliant at this point in time? That's the question.
Yes.
So if the answer is yes,
Yes.
So there's through flow, and it's been reduced to the proper width, because there were quite a few things here. Was it untreated material
It was, yeah.
that was
Yeah,
used?
cedar
Okay,
they
that's
used.
good.
It was a nice
Yeah.
cedar dock.
It was, and now, now we'll replace 60% according to the Blue Book.
Right.
But-
so you met all the parameters now, right?
Yeah. How you feel with it, James?
It appears to be, to Blue Book.
Proper stamp plans?
No, we don't have proper state line.
James, what do they have it fastened to the bottom with? Wood or steel or?
It seems like pipes.
Now, is that gonna be something that's gonna be removable or is it gonna be permanent? Because,
Well, as we have built this dock unpermitted, it's there right now. So we're gonna have to take those out, the ones that are there out.
yeah, but I'm saying, but in the wintertime, if you get ice in the pond,
Mhm.
not that you get rise and fall, but if the ice starts to break up and it has an ice shift, it will pull the dock with it if it's not secured in the
So
bottom.
those pipes are,
Glued into
Helical?
the thing.
yeah,
That's why we need stamped plans that'll say
Well, I
what it
mean,
is.
the problem with pipes is over time they rust off and they break off and then they become, hazards for people to step on.
Right,
That's-
as
that's-
in our neighbors.
I know, but,
Like things sticking out.
yeah, that's why,
Pipes, same thing.
yeah, that's
A lot
why.
of
Not
people-
pipes, it's the, part of their old dock was like a
They're
metal.
stick.
It appears
Yeah.
they just sit on the bottom, they're not in the bottom, correct?
They have feet on, I mean, some of these
So is this
docks.
coming out for the winter?
It's not, no, it froze this winter, and, we've been monitoring it, just how it's,
Moves.
if it moves, if it doesn't, and it's,
Stable?
yeah. So it does go in, into those metal plates, and it rests on the bottom.
Okay.
I guess it's a technique where they use up in other ponds.
In the
upstate.
ponds, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you have there now, right?
That's correct,
And those are the pipes there.
correct.
I just wanna see it get to Blue Book compliant.
Yeah, I
And let
mean,
everybody have a good time, just,
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, if they do rust off, you pull them out anyhow, so.
exactly,
Yeah,
and a
okay,
lot of,
all
a
right.
lot of the easy docks nowadays, for the ease and the less invasiveness into the bottom, are utilizing the
Pipes.
pipe system, because it's a lot less invasive, it's easier to deal with, it's easy to change.
Correct.
Yeah.
The homeowners can do it.
Yeah,
And
so.
that's what that's
Right.
us, my
Yeah.
husband building it, and
Yeah.
of course, we're not, the reason why we did this whole thing is safety
Sure.
anyway, so if we see anything
Yeah.
being compromised in terms of material.
We want safety, and we also want consistency.
So a ladder would be the only thing we need, Billy, right? Jim?
Yes.
A ladder and the stamp.
Stamp
and the
plans.
Stamp plans.
We need engineered stamp plans, so you're gonna have to take the plans and follow the Blue Book and get them stamped. That's what you
Yeah,
gotta do.
there are,
Yeah,
An engineer takes a seal
Yeah.
and approves.
checks it,
Okay.
looks at it, makes
there
sure
are
that it's
guys who do
stable.
that, engineers out here.
Landscape
Dave.
architect.
Just find an engineer, got it.
Show them the plans, let him certify
Yeah.
that it's a good plan, and
Okay.
he built it to the, standard engineering specifications,
It-
and show
it's
the
to
board that
protect
by.
us and you and the kids and everybody.
Because you want
Got it.
you want it done properly.
Got it.
Not to say your husband didn't build it properly, but,
The design of it, maybe.
right,
That's what he's doing.
right.
Make sure the
See-
design is.
And for us
up
to
fit.
maintain consistency in that, we require on these types of structures, engineered stamp plans for safety, and, and that's why. So, in theory, what you have here meets the Blue Book regulations and tests, it's okay, you just have to have an engineer certify it.
So in practice, a layman can design it and figure it out and make
As-
it a plan, but
As long
then
as
you
an
have to.
engineer says,
Signs on.
Says that he did a good job.
Correct.
He met all the codes. and-
Okay,
Yeah.
and then you guys go, okay, well, this guy said
You're
it's.
99% there.
yeah,
Yep.
you're,
Okay, good,
All right.
so we'll include a ladder
See, it was
on-
pretty easy for you.
safety ladder and engineered stamp
All
of
right.
those plans.
Well, thank you
Back to
for your
James.
patience.
So then when you get the stamps, give to James.
And then,
And just on the cover sheet, we just need
You gotta
the distance
clear that up.
of the catwalk, the length.
Oh,
I don't see that on there.
gotcha.
Dimensions of the catwalk.
all right, so you need the
Yeah.
dimensions, you need the stamp plans, you need the
It's
safety
on,
ladder.
it's on here, but not on the cover.
Yeah.
It's gotta be on the
So
cover.
Everything
32
needs
feet,
to
okay.
match.
All right,
And then gets to James, and we make a resolution, and then we go from there.
all right,
All right.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Have a good
Thanks for
afternoon.
coming.
Thank you.
Suzanne? 370 Fowler's. Oops.
Who is it?
No.
Step right up.
It's-
370
I don't know
Fowler?
why it says that, because it looked like you were sleeping by it.
You changed your name?
Yeah. That's my fault. I apologize.
Good, how are you?
Good.
Thanks.
Michael Shiano from InterScience on behalf of the applicant.
This is a walkway.
I believe we had discussed this one,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, we discussed it a while ago.
Yes, at the last meeting, we discussed, I think the only thing that was pending was me conferring with my client that he would be okay putting a covenant on the property to say that if they were to sell the property, that they would remove the ADA platforms, and we are really willing to do that.
Okay.
So I've submitted a revised cover sheet to that effect. And I guess that would be we would submit that covenant for the certificate of compliance, or would we submit that before the permit is issued?
That's Joe's question. Answer.
I'd want to see it before we issue the permit.
That makes sense.
Yeah. that way
So I
we
guess at the same time that we submit like the
The-
fee or
the-
before the fee is
The fee,
requested?
or also the stamp. We need the stamp plans.
Oh, we have stamp plans.
Stamp
Yeah.
plans,
So
okay.
before we pass a resolution granting it, we would
Yeah.
need to have the
would,
determination made
okay.
by
Yeah.
council that it was satisfactory to what the board was concerned with, and then we would go from there.
Then we just put it with the
Okay.
permit.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it.
Sorry, when are you, waiting? When are you gonna get it to us? I'm sorry, I missed it.
So I need to submit the draft covenant.
Yes.
First.
Okay.
So, is there a model language for that, or?
I believe there is.
Contact Joe.
Contact a lawyer.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it for me.
That's
All right.
it.
Great.
So
Thank
we'll
you.
hold that until the covenant.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you have Kim Lester for Mr. Warner here, 17
Yes.
Allison Lane, Hampton Bays, Cole
Yep.
Environmental Services. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey there.
How are we doing today?
All right. Last time that we met, you're basically just looking for the DEC permit. And
Which we have in hand,
received-
yes.
Oh, good.
And we got the stamp plan, so we have
That's a very
approvals
nice
from.
project.
Yep, yeah, it's a good one. The house is close to the edge of the canal, so
Very close.
it's definitely something that's needed.
And we've
in that
had
area.
correspondence with all the permitting agencies,
Yep.
which was really nice to go through a project and meet people on site and discuss out the issues on site and resolve them on site, not having phone and,
Yes.
and, yeah. And they were everybody's been very responsive, and I think this is a good project, very similar to one that was done at the old Allen's Acre, that's the Pancor Manor, protecting his vegetated shoreline and preserving it, and also maintaining the navigable channel. So, being that said, I recommend that we move it forward.
Okay.
I'm fine with
Yeah,
it.
good.
Okay?
I think it's a good
Great.
project.
Have
Ed.
stamp plans, so you'll advance it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
For-
you.
For when you see the stamp plans, do we need to come back?
You don't really have
No,
to, as
you
long
don't.
as
We just
everything's.
can't.
No,
change
we
the stamp.
pretty much.
No, you don't need, because he has stamp plans, so we're
Okay.
not putting
Yeah,
it on for another.
But to answer your question, generally
Right.
speaking, you don't need representation as long,
Gotcha.
because we generally, it's reviewed by our environmental analyst and us, and as long as it's all copacetic.
Great.
you'd be good.
We got everything,
Thank
we'll
you.
move to the
Thanks,
general
guys.
meeting next time.
Great, take care, Chris.
Pretty quick, right?
Okay, Flying Point Road, 1080 Real Estate LLC, 1080 Flying Point Road in Watermill, Mr. James Walker of InterScience. Welcome.
Hey, Jim. How you doing today?
Caught wingfish yesterday.
You
That's
did.
good. I caught my biggest bluefish I ever caught in my entire life yesterday.
I didn't catch any bluefish.
It was huge. You
So,
had to cut it in half to smoke it.
I wish I went fishing.
Good game.
It's a little windy. So this is a lady I've been working for 15 or 20 years. She owned 4 properties on Mecox. She lives at 1030. She bought 1025. And this 1080 is going to be where her and her husband are gonna retire. So they have a very small house. I think it's 25 by 40, to retire in. And we started this work in 2014. We got the permits from Marty Shea, we got the permits from New York State DEC. Sometime after that, we renewed the permits, we had to go get a variance, we had to get a building permit, all this stuff for the house. And in the interim, the guy built the dock. He built the dock first. Little bit of a surprise, we didn't know he was gonna build the dock first. So I'm here to ask for an as-built approval for the walkway that was built from the lady's retirement home to the shoreline of Mecox.
And the house is there already?
It's
Yes.
being built,
Being
No,
built?
there's no house there.
it's not there yet.
It's a vacant
Proposed
parcel.
house.
Oh, it's one
No.
around the corner,
Yes.
Flatbed Road.
Exactly.
It's a vacant,
So
vacant parcel.
It's been cleared, but there's no structure there at this
Oh,
point.
there's the other house that was put there.
Was there
Yes.
any conservation easement or anything on where the dock had to be
Uh,
planned?
To that point, the walkway was approved by the Conservation Board.
Okay.
So what we're asking for is the Board of Trustees to approve
The water park.
what the Conservation Board approved, which is this. And we submitted engineered plans that Steve Lemansky drew up. There's one thing that's a little different here than usual. This is Terry Contracting. Terry Contracting built this and this, and he used helical piles. So you have little steel screws, piles, down,
Cavernized.
little cap, and a 4x4 going up above the walkway. So that was different. I did access the
Actually,
helical.
that's something, that's a lot easier way instead of pumping them in or jamming them in.
He said it required less disruption.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So,
Makes
if
sense.
the board is interested,
Thank you.
that's what he,
Oops.
sorry.
Thank you, buddy.
Not Joe, Scott.
Making a mess.
Sorry about that. Well, the mess is, I gotta get the permits issued on this project. And with the Board of Trustees' blessings, if the Board of Trustees is inclined to issue a permit, I have to go to the Army Corps. I have to ask the Army Corps to issue
Can I see this?
approval. This one?
So, Jim, could you talk to the as-built height and your discussion with the Army Corps about
We
that?
haven't had any discussions with the Army
Your
Corps.
proposed discussion
But,
with Army Corps to that point.
It's gonna be,
So,
54 inches high over the vegetated
Well,
wetland?
we're gonna ask for approval for what we have. However,
Excuse me.
before you get into that issue.
sorry.
This project was on for work session for a meeting that I wasn't able to attend. And I got word back from Ann and from James Duryea that didn't meet the Blue Book requirements because it wasn't 3 feet above grade. So I went down there, I took a look and walked the entire walkway, which goes 10 feet into the water, and I measured the height above grade, and the average height above grade comes out to 3.09 feet.
All right,
So it's 3 feet above grade.
okay.
At the end of the walkway, we stick out 8 feet into the surface waters of Ecox Bay, and the water depth at that particular day was 10 inches.
That's about right.
8 feet out.
About a
So-
foot. Right?
It's about that depth for a long ways there.
Yeah.
All right, so,
We're into the water a little bit, which means I gotta go get an Army Corps permit. For the Board of Trustees' information, the Army Corps has a new set of regulations that were handed down by a court action, and we have gotten disparate reviews from the Army Corps about how they're going to impose the regulations. Right now, it looks like they have jurisdiction to the edge of the salt marsh. They don't have jurisdiction over this. So, if we are required to change anything at the Army Corps of Engineers, I have to return to the Conservation Board, the Board of
Yes.
Trustees, and New York State DEC. These permits are old. The contractor is a person that we've only worked with once. Terry Contracting built the thing, and it was built before I knew it was started. So, be it, I think the helical piles did a nice job.
I like them.
Maybe we'll propose them again somewhere else.
I think you
but,
should.
The height of the thing starts at 26 inches above grade, but for the bulk of it, it's 3 feet over the grade of the vegetated wetlands.
And it's all flow through.
And the latest pictures show,
Yeah, let's consider the latest picture.
So it would be something that we would have historically approved in the past until the Army Corps decided to go
Right,
with
so-
their new regulations of 54
and
inches.
Jim, if grant this permit, we would be granting it consistent with the other,
you would
Approvals at this
be
point.
consistent with the Conservation Board and the New York State DEC.
right,
And
okay.
Can you talk
That's-
about,
that's good.
sorry, Scott, can you talk about the litigation that the Army Corps just went through as far as the height?
I can, but I don't think it's very productive because they haven't figured out how to implement it.
Oh.
Better yet, I could send you the,
Okay,
we did a whole lot of research figuring out what exposure we have at the Army Corps, which I'm gonna make a application to the Army Corps as soon as the Board of Trustees decide what to do. You have engineered plans. I believe that the walkway is 3 feet on average out to the water. There's 10 or 12 inches of water at the very end. It sticks into the water 8 or 10 feet. If we get approval from the Board of Trustees, we're immediately going to the Army Corps. But the Army Corps regulations that I have gathered in 2 emails from 2 different people at the Army Corps that said 2 different things, I can share them with you electronically.
That'd be nice of you, thank you.
That's great.
And I think we should grant it.
Send them to Mr. Duryea and Mr. Horowitz and copy you, Ian.
You want this back?
I think it's a good project, but I only see
There
one
you go.
thing wrong with the whole thing.
What's that?
And you probably know what it is. There's no ladder out there.
We'll ask for a ladder, Bill.
That's it, I'm fine.
Let's grant it.
I'm fine with granting.
Need stamp plans.
You got stamp plans. Steve Lemansky.
So let me ask you a quick question. If the Army Corps takes jurisdiction, being that it's 8 feet in Mecox Bay, what would happen if you got rid of that last 8 feet of that dock and just applied for the upland portion of it?
We come back to see you and
Modify.
fix the Army Corps
And
part.
could you apply for something like we just looked at here with this young lady with basically pads on the bottom of it and something of a temporary dock where you can take it out and pull it out every winter, so you wouldn't have to deal with the Army Corps?
We could use the helical piles that are already there and attach 4x4s to
Yeah.
whatever different elevation the Army Corps determined. Using galvanized steel pipes as support for docks might work in Big Fresh Pond, but I gotta
Yeah.
tell you, Big Fresh Pond,
Doesn't get that
maybe
way.
it froze last year, but it didn't freeze very hard because the duck hunting didn't improve. So there was still open water all through Big Fresh all year. And those types of things have their own set of problems. And in Mecox, we've had a real bear in Mecox, particularly this lady, at 10:30. And you have a project on later on for 10:25, which is this one, where we're replacing bulkheading and restoring the shoreline where the erosion happened. And it's mainly because the water was high when the DEC wouldn't give you permits. So would we put that kind of thing in Mecox?
Thank you.
I wouldn't.
Well, you also have ice shifting there in the
Yeah.
wintertime when you, after a northeaster and the bay breaks up, and a northwester, I've seen sheet ice just completely mow everything over there too.
This person is exposed in the winter to ice damage.
Yes.
Here,
I'm
and
trying.
10:30 and at 10:80, so I would probably say we would just use the helical piles and adjust the 4x4s above.
So we're gonna grant this. And you
Yes.
have stamp plans from Steve Lemansky.
And he's got to throw a ladder on.
I don't, do we?
All right,
Oh.
okay, all right.
You
Thank
have
you.
them.
Hey, thanks, Jim.
We'll send them to you again if you'd like.
Send them again if you can't find them.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks for your
Thank
help.
you. All right, so now you got,
Okay, next, Susanna and consultants for both 78 and 74 Ferry Road. It's 2 separate property owners, SBJ Group LLC and Repzak Realty LLC. These are contiguous properties that were formerly owned by one owner and then were subdivided, and the property owner is now interested in having a new dock on their new property and to replace the present dock on their old property.
Correct. So 74 Ferry Road does not currently have a dock. 78 Ferry Road does. And when they sold their old house and they built a new house on the vacant lot, the dock went with the old house. So on 78 Ferry Road, we're proposing to actually reconstruct and expand that dock so that it actually achieves some water, so you can put in a kayak.
And there's a permit for that dock already.
There's a permit for that old
That's
dock.
good.
And they also need to expand it a little bit landward, because that area gets muddy. So we're expanding it landward about 10 feet and expanding it seaward as well. This project has permits already from DEC, Army Corps, and Department of State. We're just adding, there's no float, we're just adding a ladder at the end. Something similar was approved on the opposite side of 74 at 70 a few years ago.
Is this in Fresh Pond?
This is
No,
in
this is the
Great Pond
Great
Creek.
Pond. So it's south,
Oh, it's the one south, it's the
Yes.
first one out of the breakwater.
yes, yes, exactly.
We used to be able to navigate a boat in and out of there, but no longer can.
Yeah, but the tide runs pretty quick.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is open to that inlet is open.
Yeah. Isn't that the pond that they wanted having us to apply for dredging permits?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's pretty deep water, that channel that goes in there, it's like really deep, then it shallows up with up, if you go up right there,
where
that's
the
where it
flats
shallows,
are,
yeah.
yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
The water's nice and, the water's pretty clean in there.
Yeah, it's really nice. There's a really healthy marsh, alternate flora. So in both cases, we're really just trying to get beyond that, that drop off.
You mean the
So-
blue book?
I think so.
Yes.
There's no float.
Okay, yeah.
There's not a
No.
lot of water right
It's-
now.
No,
The-
there'll never be a lot of water in there.
Yeah.
No.
No,
But
You
it's
mean the blue book?
very
Yeah.
pleasant for
Very quiet.
kayaking,
Yep,
canoeing.
paddleboarding, yeah.
Paddleboarding.
Sounds like a good project.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually do, when I go down there in the morning sometimes, I actually do see a lot of people kayaking in there,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
yeah,
There's a lot of blue crabs in there, Billy.
yeah, I know.
Watch your toes.
Yeah, the dogs go in there. We chase geese on properties on that creek.
Anyway, do you have any questions about either one?
You answered my main one.
Okay.
They're
There's a lot
basically
of-
identical projects, but just one is being replaced and one's brand new.
The
Um,
brand new one at 74, I tried to design it so that it crossed the narrowest portion of the marsh. That's the other one.
It's nice healthy marsh down there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
This is the new one.
This
This is
74.
74.
Oh, it's upside down, I'm sorry.
So it had the
That's why
least
I
bit
was
of
confused.
disturbance,
Right.
Okay.
It's the least amount of disturbance if you do it.
yeah, of the vegetation along the shoreline.
Right.
So I think that, being that you have everything in order, other agencies wise, that, and it addresses, it's a fairly simple project, but it
Yeah.
is two of them. But I'd like to approve both of them, or advance
than-
both of them.
We need
Alright.
the stamp plans.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay, so I'll get you stamp plans for the next meeting then.
okay,
Great.
Thank you.
great,
Thank
thank
you.
you,
you.
Susanna.
Thanks.
Hey.
That's it for me.
Now, the last one we did, parishes we did, right?
We did that already.
We did
So
that
now,
already.
we've got general permit applications for determination for final stamp plans. I have the Scholar Family Trust 22 Last Lane in Hampton Bays. Do we have everything we need on this one, James?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have MJH Real Estate Ventures LLC, 1025 Flying Point Road, and I have stamp plans.
Okay, so they can advance, both of those can advance. And we've had a 2+ hour, very productive work session, and I think at this point in time, in the interest of time, I think what we should do is adjourn the meeting, if there's no discussion, or if we could wait till the general, and then we break for executives, go into executive session.
So we're going to executive? Okay.
Yeah,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for coming.